Every gamer wants to improve. We want a higher KD, a higher rank and more wins. We spend hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours chasing these numbers, hoping that they will finally prove that we're becoming better players. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most players don't even understand what improvement actually is. And if you don't know what improvement actually looks like, how could you ever recognize it? And that's exactly why so many players eventually feel stuck. Not because they stopped improving, but because they're measuring their success by the wrong things. And today, I want to show you guys why improving has actually nothing to do with your results and almost everything to do with your decisions. Let's imagine two players fighting each other, and at the end, one player wins. Now let me ask you something. Which player is better? Most people would answer this question immediately. Of course it's the winner. And honestly, that's exactly what I would have answered a few years ago. But here's the problem. You don't actually have enough information to answer that question correctly. Because all you know is what happened. You don't know why it happened. Maybe the losing player made every correct decision and simply got unlucky. Maybe the winning player made 3 terrible decisions and got rewarded anyway. And that's the problem with the results. They only tell you what happened, but not why it happened. And that's an incredibly important distinction, because if you only judge the outcome, you're allowing luck to teach you how to play. Imagine someone sitting in a bush for 20 minutes. They get one easy kill and instantly extract afterwards. And then they do that exact routine over and over again. Eventually, their KD will go up, their money keeps growing, and their survival rate will skyrocket through the roof. But here's the real question. Did that player actually become better? Not necessarily, right? Because none of those numbers actually tell you if you have gotten better or not. They only tell you that the outcome improved. And those are completely different things. And that's why so many players spend their time chasing statistics instead of understanding the game itself. They're trying to improve the results instead of improving on the decisions that create those results. Because real improvement doesn't start when your statistics change. It starts when your thinking changes. So, if results don't tell you whether you're improving, what does? Let me ask you one question. Have you ever made a decision without realizing why you made it? You just knew it felt right. That happened to me recently in Hunt. I was pushing a compound and I took the quickest route, which meant I would have to run through open terrain. But then after just a few steps, I stopped. Not because I heard someone or saw someone peeking me. I just had this subconscious feeling that I shouldn't go that way. So I changed my route. I took the longer path instead and arrived safely at the compound. And to be honest, I didn't think much about it afterwards. Later that day, however, I rewatched that clip and suddenly it became obvious. The first route had almost no cover. If somebody had started shooting at me, I would have had nowhere to go and would most likely have died. The second route wasn't faster and it wasn't more aggressive. It simply gave me more options. And here's the interesting part. I never consciously thought about it that way. My brain already had. And that's what improvement actually looks like. Not better aim, nor faster reactions, and not even better mechanics. It's better pattern recognition. Your brain slowly starts recognizing situations long before you're able to explain them. And that's exactly why improvement feels so invisible. Nobody clips a smart rotation. Nobody uploads a video of himself good repositioning. And nobody celebrates choosing the safer path. But those decisions often win fights before the first shot was ever fired. And the strange thing is, the moment improvement becomes automatic, it stops feeling like improvement. Okay, if improvement isn't measured by results, then how do you actually improve? And that's exactly the right question. And I think most players are looking for the wrong answer here. They just ask themselves, what is the best weapon? But that's not the question you should be asking yourself. Instead, you should ask, why was this weapon strong in this situation? Because there is no strongest weapon. Every weapon has strengths and weaknesses. Whether a weapon feels overpowered or useless completely depends on the situation. Let me give you an example. I was playing Hunt Showdown with a shotgun. During one fight, I was sandwiched between multiple teams. There were players all around me. And the worst part, they were all playing long-range weapons. So what did I do? I pushed straight into the buildings. Because I was holding a shotgun. Inside those buildings, I had cover, short sidelines, and close-range fights. And everything about that situation favored my weapon. And then I died. And another player picked up my shotgun. I revived myself in Necromancer, but now everything had changed. My shotgun was gone. And instead, I was holding a Sparks now. So let me ask you one simple question. What would your next move be? Most players would probably keep fighting or immediately try to get their shotgun back. But that's not the right play here. The first thing that I realized was that the tables have turned. Just a few seconds ago, this was the best possible situation for me. But now it became the worst position to be in with my specific weapon. I was standing in close quarters, holding a long-range rifle, while another player was running around with my shotgun. And if we fought again, I would almost certainly lose. Not because the Sparks is a bad weapon, and not because the shotgun is overpowered, but because the situation was not favorable for me anymore. So my first objective shouldn't be to win the fight. It was to change the situation to my favor. I need distance, longer sight lines, and I needed to turn the fight into something where my weapon had the advantage. Only then did it make sense to fight again. And that's the difference. Don't ask yourself, what's the best weapon? And instead ask yourself, why was the weapon strong in that situation in the first place? The same thing applies to positioning. The next time you're moving across the map, don't just run, but ask yourself one simple question. If somebody started shooting at me right now, where can I go? And suddenly, you stop looking for the shortest path. You start looking for cover, escape routes, angles, or simply options to choose from. Or when you're inside of a compound, don't just ask yourself, where can I stand now? Instead ask, if somebody shot at me right now, where can I reposition? That's how your thinking changes. And once your thinking changes, then your decisions change and your gameplay improves. And eventually, your results will change too. Because real improvement doesn't come from collecting answers. It comes from understanding principles. Don't focus on finding what works. Focus on understanding why it works. Because the moment you start understanding why something works, you will know when it works. And that's what real improvement actually looks like. So now we understand what improvement actually looks like. It's not better statistics. It's not a better KD, but instead better decisions and understanding. But that creates another question. If that is true, why do so many players feel like they aren't improving? Take a moment and think back to where you were 6 months ago, or maybe even a year ago. Do you really feel that you've become a better player? Or does it feel like nothing has changed? Most players would look at their statistics to look for an answer for this question. Their KD, their rank, and maybe their win rate. And if those numbers barely moved, they just tell themselves, I guess I didn't improve. But that's not actually true, because you're measuring the one thing that changes the least with improvement. I have been playing Hunt for almost 7 years now. And if you compare my KD from now to the one I had back 2 years ago, the difference is surprisingly small. Does that mean that I barely improved? Of course not. My positioning improved, my pathing improved, my decisions improved, and even my aim improved. The problem is that none of those things have their own statistics. There is no number for better positioning. There is no number for better decision making, and no number for recognizing danger. But those are the skills that actually make you a better player. And that's why improvement feels so frustrating, because you're looking at numbers while the improvement happens at a completely different area. So, let's put everything we've talked about into one simple question. The next time you finish a match, don't ask yourself, did I get a better result? But instead ask, did I make better decisions? Did I rotate better? Did I choose a better position? Did I understand the situation better? And did I notice something that I would have completely missed 6 months ago? Because that's what improvement actually is. Not better numbers, but better thinking. The funny thing is, once you start asking yourself those questions, your focus completely changes. You simply stop chasing KD, rank, or statistics. Instead, you start chasing understanding. You know what's kind of funny? I'm starting to realize something about the topic we talked about last week. Last week we talked about why games stop feeling fun after some time. And one thing I'm starting to understand now about myself is that the one thing that keeps me so addicted to games like fighting games or Hunt Showdown as example, is that I want to improve constantly. And just constantly chasing, understanding, or getting better is something that is making games terribly addicting. You know, that was completely off script, but that was just one thing I realized now. But yeah, that's exactly where improvement begins. Because the players who improve the fastest aren't the ones obsessed with winning every fight. They're the ones trying to understand why they won. And by the way, if you enjoy short high-density analysis like this one, focused on why improvement feels invisible and why asking yourself the wrong questions actually destroys your satisfaction with the game, that's exactly what this channel does. Subscribing makes sense.